the number one way I believe to get from here to 10x is figuring out what's the one or two things that you do better than everyone else around you, and everything that is not one of those things, you either automate it, delegate it, or eliminate it. Yeah. You shouldn't be doing it.
If you're an aggressive, growth-minded attorney looking to transform your law firm into a thriving business, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AGM Attorney Podcast, the #1 podcast dedicated exclusively to aggressive, growth-minded attorneys. Each episode will deliver actionable strategies and insights to help you attract ideal clients, scale your law firm, and dominate your market. And now, here's your host, Josh Konigsberg.
Welcome to the AGM Attorney Podcast, where aggressive, growth-minded attorneys discover proven strategies to transform their law firms into thriving businesses. A special thank you to our sponsor, Law Firm Marketing Pros. They get you more leads, more clients, and more profits. I'm your host, Josh Konigsberg. Let's get aggressive. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the AGM Attorney Podcast. I can't tell you how excited I am. Today's guest is Alex Gertsburg, managing partner at Gertsburg Licata and founder of CoverMySix and Exit Path Partners. Alex helps business owners and professional service firms protect, grow, and ultimately transition their business through the legal strategy, risk management, and succession planning. As a business attorney, entrepreneur, author, Army veteran, thank you for your service, Alex, and speaker, Alex has spent his career helping leaders navigate everything from litigation and acquisitions to leadership transitions and exits. Today, we'll explore what it takes to build a business that not only grows, but creates lasting value. Alex, welcome to the AGM Attorney Podcast.
Josh, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
So Alex, before we jump in, I just want to tell you, first of all, thank you for sharing your book, The Lawsuit Free Company. Amazing. Great job. My hat's off to you. And at the end, we'll tell people how they can get it. But I want to reference one thing. The bonus chapter that you attorney to get, but the title of the chapter, How to Hire a Lawyer, a guide to saving money on legal fees. Who doesn't love that, right? So that's my favorite chapter. So,
thank you.
But get the book. You can make your own decisions on that. So Alex, you've built a career as an attorney, entrepreneur, advisor, and business strategist. What originally drew you towards helping business owners navigate growth and transition?
Did you used to watch LA Law when you were growing up?
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I grew up on LA Law. Okay. And I wanted to be the business lawyer in LA Law. I forget his name. Arnie Becker was the divorce lawyer, and Victor Cifuentes was the criminal lawyer. But there was a business lawyer there, and I wanted to be that guy. And that took me to law school, to doing business litigation, and then I became a general counsel for a telecom company, and then I started my own firm. And the entire time, I'm just representing business owners. I've been a lawyer for 26 years, recovering lawyer the last 4. Haven't billed an hour in years, and that's exactly how I want it. But all of the last 26 years, Josh, has been me talking to entrepreneurs. And I love everything about entrepreneurship. I love the ups and the downs, the human drama of it, the failing that is so necessary to succeed. Everyone only sees the good stuff. Everything you just read about me, right, is just the good stuff. It was just mountains and mountains of failing to get to that stuff. I love working with entrepreneurs and being vulnerable with them, and them being vulnerable with me, and helping them solve these problems that have ripple effects to no end. Their employees, families, their own families, their vendors, their clients. It is, to me, working with entrepreneurs, and Josh, I know you feel the same way, is one of the highest callings, because it's that there's a biblical quote in there. You say you help one person, you help the whole world.
Yeah.
That to me is working with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. It's funny, the grind that you talk about, everybody just looks at the highs. They don't necessarily see the lows. And I think back of a personal story of when my first company became successful. And I was, young, out of college, in my late 20s. And I'm driving around town in a brand new Mercedes, right? And so I heard word from someone who knew one of my roommates when I was in college, like, oh, Josh just got lucky, right? Not seeing the 16, 18-hour days I was putting in, right?
Yeah.
So I got lucky.
Which, whatever, let them think what they want to think.
Oh, yeah. I don't
right?
care. Yeah,
and look, I mean, if nothing wrong with luck. But
listen, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Exactly. No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a grind. It is climbing a mountain. And then at some point, Josh, I gotta believe there's, Dan Sullivan calls it the ceiling of complexity. You keep bumping into it as your business gets more complex and grows, and then something happens, something serendipitous, a new hire, a new technology you bring, and then you break through that ceiling, and everything seems awesome for a little while until you hit the next one.
I can't wait for that. I'm just kidding.
No, it is a constant breakthrough of a ceiling, but then you hit another ceiling. That's growth.
Right. So well stated. So Alex, you've worn so many hats throughout your career, right? As a litigator, general counsel, entrepreneur, advisor. Which role taught you the most about building a successful business, and why?
If I had to pick one, it would probably be a veteran. It would probably, but being the entrepreneur is a close second, and working with entrepreneurs is the third. But I always tell people, Josh, if you have the ability to hire a vet, two candidates, both being equal, hire the vet, because that is someone who was given responsibility way too early before they could handle it. That was someone who was forced to deal with stress, with really, really stressful situations, isolation from their family, just the stress of combat, the stress of leadership. I had moms as we deployed to Iraq, and I was 27. I was 27 years old, and I had moms coming up to me saying, "You have to bring my daughter home in one piece." And I'm like, I was just like getting hammered with my friends, 2 days ago. I'm still hungover, and I mean, but that's so building a business, to me, the root of it for me was then it was taking on the ownership, the accountability of a group of human beings who were relying on me to make sure that they were fed, housed, equipped, organized, and doing that, training for that for years and years, and then deploying for a year. There is no better leadership training. There is no better way to understand human behavior, social behavior, and ultimately the small unit that is a small business, right? So platoon leader, 4 squads, company executive officer, 4 platoons, 160 soldiers, multiple small units. That to me is like, that's business.
Yeah. That's the hierarchy, right? So I'll just say this: we've got a few veterans on our team. One of them was actually a Marine sniper in Vietnam, and I could tell you some stories he shared with me. So but that's another conversation, right? Yeah. So
one other feature, by the way, hire the vet, because not only were they given more responsibility than they were ready for, but that is someone who is forced to solve problems with a very limited tool set. And that is also someone who knows how to break through bureaucracy.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Yep. And you need that. Everyone needs that person.
Exactly. Yeah. Adapt and overcome, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about some challenges and solutions that so many law firm owners focus heavily on growth, but spend very little time thinking about risk. What are some of the biggest blind spots that you see attorneys overlook as their law firms grow?
So I would say there are two that jump out at me. Number one, the biggest blind spot, the one that every human being walking the planet has, is their own confirmation bias, their own emotional intelligence. We, especially entrepreneurs, right? We tend to think that just because we set the goal, it will happen, right? It's confirmation bias. We all have it. We elevate confirming evidence and we deprioritize the disconfirming evidence. And entrepreneurs are all guilty of this unless you have it in check. I personally, I mean, my biggest failures growing my business were all the result of failed emotional intelligence, confirmation bias. How that relates to businesses who are growing and selling is you think your business is worth more than it is because you're in love with it. And you think your product is worth, unless you have really great emotional intelligence, you think that I got $1 million law firm, I'm going to get $1 million for it. I've got this product idea, everyone's going to love it. You have to have your confirmation bias in check. That's number one. And number two is failing to surround yourself with people who will get your ego in check. You know, we all are really great at like a couple of things and good at a bigger number of things and are just okay at a bigger number. And then we suck at a lot of things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the number one way I believe to get from here to 10X is figuring out what's the one or two things that you do better than everyone else around you. And everything that is not one of those things, you either automate it, delegate it, or eliminate it. Yeah. You shouldn't be doing it.
That's again, isn't that a Dan Martell thing? You know who that is? Buy back your time.
I know who he is. I'm not really familiar with his stuff, but it is a buy back your time concept. So sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he came up with it. Yeah.
I also you often reference time trades, bad time trades, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So you've developed something called the CoverMySix, which is a registered trademark, right?
It is.
It helps businesses identify legal vulnerabilities before those vulnerabilities become lawsuits. What separates businesses that proactively manage risk from those constantly reacting to problems?
What separates them is intelligence, right? Like you can't afford to be reactive with legal risk. Which isn't to say that it's not done by the majority of business owners, because business owners are frugal, especially at the startup phase. Cash flow is tight. Most lawyers bill by the hour, which is scary and creates sticker shock. And so what do business owners do? They do this, right? For your radio listeners, I'm holding my hands to, create blinders, right? And you say, all right, well, yeah, I'm just going to wait until I get the summons in the mail, right? Yeah, right. I'm just going to wait until I get the cease and desist letter. That is a bad approach to legal risk management, right? Because when you're being reactive that way, it's extremely expensive because it's urgent, and you're going to hire somebody and you're going to go generally with the first person who tells you what you want to hear, which is, hey, I'll get you out of this. And you're leaving all of these other risks sitting there waiting to explode, right? That's reactive and that's dumb. Proactive is far more intelligent. You can allocate your attention, your energy, your financial expense. And so CoverMySix came out of that. And so here, Josh, is a fun fact that you can impress all of your friends on the golf course down there in Florida today, okay? There are only 6 plaintiffs who can sue a business. I've spent 26 years looking for the 7th plaintiff, and I've never found him, okay? And the 6 plaintiffs are customers, vendors, employees, shareholders, the government, and competitors. That's it. Now, can someone who is not one of those 6 say, well, what about, I'm the neighbor, right? No, that's a customer. It's the same risk. It's the same risk profile, and it's the same countermeasures, right? You have to protect your neighbor the same way you protect a customer who walks through your store.
Yeah, right.
Or somebody will say, well, what about an assignee or a subrogee? These are legal nuances. Those are the only 6 plaintiffs who, if you solve for, you will eliminate 95% of all legal risk. If you know who can sue you, and there's only 6 of them, you can reverse engineer the limited number of things that each one of them can sue you for. Those are called claims. And there's only so many things there's only so many claims a customer has. There's only so many claims an employee has, et cetera. And if you know what they are for your business, then you can then reverse engineer the defenses to those claims ahead of time. They generally fall into categories like this: better contracts, dispute resolution clauses, better employee handbooks, better signage, better lease provisions. The number one, I'll give you the low-hanging fruit. That's the nuclear option that I put into every single contract with anyone. And we call it the Santa Claus, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay. The Santa Claus, I don't think I could ever trademark that, but because it's Santa, but like Santa Claus may be spelled differently.
Yes. I was going to say spell it differently. Yeah.
But here's what it is. It's every one of your clients, Josh, should have this clause in every one of their contracts. It is a 5-step dispute resolution provision. And this eliminates the litigation track and puts everyone into conciliatory track instead. 5 steps. Step 1, you got to give me notice of your beef. Okay, whether you're the customer, the employee, the landlord, I don't care. If there's a contract there or a contract to be had, or even an employee handbook. 5 steps. Step 1, you got to give me notice, and I will then have 30 days to cure your complaint. Step 3 is if I haven't cured in 30 days, you and I are going to have a face-to-face meeting. And we are going to try to resolve it that way. Step 4, if you still have beef after the first 3 steps are tripped, we are going to go into a confidential mediation, non-binding. If you still have beef after 4 steps, we are going to go to arbitration, not litigation, arbitration. It doesn't have to be AAA, American Arbitration Association. That tends to get expensive and time consuming, but it will be under their rules. We can pick private arbitrators that will follow the AAA's rules. Confidential, expedited, and if they sign a contract that has that dispute resolution clause in it and they sue you, you get to file a motion to stay the proceedings, or a motion to compel arbitration, or a motion to dismiss, saying that there is an overriding DR clause, Your Honor. This case doesn't belong in court. They have to go through these 5 steps. That's the same.
I feel like I'm getting a free business consultation, business contract law, right?
Honestly, Josh, it gets rid of litigation. Every business owner should have it in every one of their contracts. Litigation, you don't have to tell me. I'm a lawyer, so I live in the litigation world. I don't know if you've been sued, but it's never fun, right?
Yeah, no.
It sucks. It's expensive. It's time consuming. It's distracting, and it's public.
For me, the distraction is the biggest thing, right? Because it's focused. It's now I'm focusing on non-revenue generating activities, and
that's right.
So
that's right.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. So time to revise our agreement at Law Firm Marketing Pros.
You know what, Josh? Listen, at the back of that book, all right, what I just said, that 5-step clause, it's Appendix A, I believe, in the book. My man. Don't copy paste it. Have your lawyer confirm that in your jurisdiction it flies without change. Okay. Put that clause into all of your contracts.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. We're revising them now anyway. So,
Yeah.
All right. Drawing on all of your years of, and by the way, thank you for that, for all of our listeners, right? Drawing on your years of advising law firms and building businesses yourself, what's your perspective on the right time for a law firm owner to begin planning for succession or eventual exit, even if they love practicing law and don't plan to leave anytime soon?
It's a really easy answer. Today. Start planning today. I don't care if you think you're going to retire next quarter, next year, or 10 years from now. Start thinking about enterprise value now. Okay. Yeah. And now it's that when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Now. Right.
Right.
But it should be no sooner than a year, ideally at least 3. Exit Path does deals. We've got something called the 90-day deal. Okay. I merged my firm with my partner's firm in 90 days from when we had the first conversation until we closed, merged, bought a building together, moved into the building, did everything in 90 days. And that became the template for the 90-day deal at Exit Path Partners. So it can be done. It can be done. Obviously, the more planning, the better.
You've advised law firm owners through some of the most important moments of their careers. What habits, decisions, or characteristics do the most successful law firm owners seem to have in common?
Yeah. Josh, you ask great questions. That's I think a super important one. So number one, it's what I mentioned earlier. You have to have really strong emotional intelligence, I believe. My biggest failures, Josh, I don't know about you, man. My biggest fall on your face and think you are out for the count moments, those failures were every single one of them a failure of emotional intelligence. It was me unable to control my insecurity, my anger, my fear, my blind spots, my confirmation bias, every single one. I mean, I should do what one day I think, I should just have like a psychotherapist on staff to, before I make a major decision, be like, hold on, Alex, what are you feeling right now? Right. What little kid inside needs a hug right now,
Yeah, right.
That's the number one.
So well stated, Alex. And, you and I'll have a private conversation about how I've gone through some of that and how I think through some of the, micro crises we have in business, and every business has them, right? And I'm 3 steps ahead of everybody else. So I'm reacting to what might happen down the line. And sometimes that's an overreaction. And I'm sure all entrepreneurs have felt that, right?
In the time that I've known you, I could tell that you're like a 3-dimensional chess guy. You're a highly strategic thinker. And how many times, Josh, have you found a problem? Everyone around you's like, no, either this problem can't be solved or it can't be solved on your timeline, Josh. So you're going to have to cool your jets. And you're like, hold my beer. This is getting solved today. And I don't care who I have to walk through, what walls I have to tear down, right? And that is how high-performing entrepreneurs, big strategists think. The problem with that is you leave a lot of wreckage along the way.
Oh my God. They won't even let me in operations anymore.
Right. Yeah. But it takes a long time and a lot of failing along the way to figure out, wait a second, I just can't be stepping on this person's fears, anxieties. I have to work with them and meet them where they are.
Yes.
Crouch down, sit next to them. That's all emotional intelligence.
Yes. So when attorneys think about selling or transitioning, what is the most common issue that prevents them from maximizing the value? And what is the number one piece of advice you would give them to maximize value?
No, the biggest obstacle that prevents exiting lawyers' success is a failure of imagination. It's a failure of imagination. So in most cases, when a lawyer, a law firm owner, and I'm speaking here in particular to the ones who have like smaller firms, 10 lawyers, the ones who have never really scaled to 50, 100 lawyers or more. Those guys, building enterprise value, they've got a pretty good handle on that, because scaling is, like a giant component of enterprise value and exiting at maximum value. For the smaller and mid-sized firms, right, under 10 or 10 to 20, it's a failure of imagination. And so what you've done is you've built a law firm as a craftsman. You have written wills and trusts your entire career. You have been a PI lawyer your entire career. You've given tax advice till the cows come home. But building enterprise value and getting a firm ready for exit, well, you've just never done it before.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably haven't had the million conversations that one ought to have to maximize enterprise value and get out on the best deal terms that you can. So it's a failure of imagination. There's so many different ways to build enterprise value: recurring revenue, subscription services, better branding, working with Josh and his team to get marketing fully optimized, right? And you're writing wills all day. You're not doing those things to a place where enterprise value is fully maximized. That's the biggest obstacle. What is the solution to that obstacle? Surrounding yourself with people smarter than you in each of those areas, right?
Yes.
Who has scaled their firm really well? That should be an advisor. Who crushes it with digital marketing? That's Josh. Get him in your corner. Get him in your corner 5 to 10 years out or more. Who has done succession planning and tax planning really, really well? That person should be on your team. And then when you're ready to exit, this is not a sales pitch, Josh. I don't care if you call exit path or not. I'm telling you, work with an intermediary. Work with someone who has these conversations all day long with buyers and sellers of law firms. Work with someone who has the capability you don't have, the reach you don't have, who brings confidentiality and discretion. You call a competitor about buying your firm, that's a bad idea. Okay? Have an intermediary do it under a confidentiality agreement. Okay? And have them build the strategy with you. So I'm sure, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, Josh, but the solution to a failure of imagination is surround yourself with people smarter than you. That's probably the solution for most problems, by the way.
I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've said this, that when I get in a meeting with my leadership team, with some of the engineers and whatnot that we have on our team, and I'm the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are absolutely brilliant. And can you A, slow down and B, dumb it down for Josh. Right. So, yeah. But I have a different skill set that none of them have. Right. So, and that's,
then Josh, I congratulate you, man. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you've made it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh, I mean, honestly, that's where everyone should be.
I don't know if I've made it, but right. So, but that being said, it's a great team, and it's great to put your ego aside, be humble, and put yourself in that position. So, because nobody has all the answers, right? So
that's right.
So, what did get back to your military experience? And again, thank you so much for your service. I can't say that enough. Whenever I see a first responder or whatnot, what did your 10 years of military experience in the Army teach you about leadership under pressure that law firm owners can apply as they grow?
So there's that saying, Mike Tyson had a version of this, somebody else did, but no good plan survives the first punch in the nose.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. I think Patton might have.
No, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Punched in the face. Well, I know Tyson said that, but I think like George Patton said, no good plan survives the first attack or counterattack or grenade or something. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
But that's a great skill, right? That I learned in the military and that I take with me everywhere, which is plan, but be nimble. Plan, as well as you can with, the people in the room smarter than you. Ask great questions, be curious, check your ego at the door, but just know that unexpected things will happen, and you got to be able to slow your heart rate down. You got to be able to, you can meet force with force, or you can follow the force when you see it, right? And it's kind of like a judo thing. It's kind of spiritual, but the point is, you've got a plan. Your plan's going to get blown up. You can react aggressively, force to force, deplete all of your energy in the process, or you can watch like the Matrix, right? You can watch it go this way, see where it's going, and then follow it, and then make much better decisions, right?
Oh, so good.
I learned that in the military.
Yeah, so good. So let's talk a little bit about some of the lessons over the years in your current role and some success stories. So can you share an example of a law firm owner who transformed their practice by thinking differently about risk, about value, or about succession planning after working with you?
Yeah. So I had a client a few years ago. Brilliant. She actually started her career working for me in my law firm 15 years ago. And she was way too big for my little firm at that time. And she became general counsel for a real estate company. She went from there to changing her career entirely. And I was there to hold her hand through each of these. She went from associate attorney to general counsel to executive vice president of sales and product development for a tech company that dealt with leases, then went back into her law firm. And now she is a world-renowned speaker in real estate tech. She is my favorite success story because I was able to counsel her and coach her through every one of those transitions. And so Josh, I have this, I've got this formula for professional happiness, professional joy. I've bastardized it. I didn't come up with this. It's a combination of like Dan Sullivan and Jack Canfield. And the formula is spend most of your day doing things that check 3 boxes and check them high. You love it, you're great at it, and it makes you lots of money. Okay. And most of your day, every single day that you come into work should be spent doing things you love to do, you're great at doing, that makes you money. And here's how that breaks down. We may have talked about this, Josh, when you and I talked earlier. So forgive me if this repetitive.
That's fine. It's for the listeners, not me.
Yeah. So if you're spending your day doing things that you love to do, that you're great at doing, but that doesn't make you money, that's called a hobby or a charity. You should do that off hours.
That's correct.
If it makes you money and you love it, but you're not great at it, someone else should be doing it. Because if you do the things you're great at, it will make you more money and it will put more of a smile on your face. And the people doing the things that they're great at will put more money in your pocket as an entrepreneur. And if you're great at it and it makes you money, but you don't love it, then you're going to hate your life. You're going to burn out. You're going to be mean to your wife and your kids. You're going to be just like getting ulcers and drinking yourself to death, right? Mm-hmm. So this particular success story that I'm sharing with you, this woman, every step of her journey was an exit, and every exit optimized for the things she loved, was great at, and which made her more money than before. And today she's like me. She's a lawyer, but she doesn't practice law. She's got a law firm, but she doesn't work in it. She's got this incredible speaking career that puts way more money in her pocket than any of those other things combined, because she loves what she does. She's great at it, and it makes her money. And my guess is there's going to be another exit for her. That's the formula for success. That's the best success story I can think of.
Love it. Okay. Moving on to trends and developments, are you seeing any shifts in how professional service firms and law firms approach succession planning, acquisitions, and long-term business value?
Yeah. So number one, it's for the law firm owners out there, the biggest shift, there's two. As it relates to exits, it's private equity. So it used to be the case that you had to be a lawyer to own a law firm. Arizona, Utah, District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico said, no, not anymore, not in our state. Why? Because private equity and big accounting firms, they want to own law firms. Insurance companies, they want to own law firms. And so they convinced those 4 jurisdictions to allow what they call alternative business structures, ABS. And in those 4 states, you don't have to be a lawyer. So that's a big shift. But in the other states, so 48 states in the US, and then there's DC and Puerto Rico, but in the other 48 states, private equity has figured out a way to own law firms. And they do it through these, they call it MSOs, managed services. They create a company that they can own because they're not lawyers and it's not a law firm. And that company is an outsourced, staffing company or tech company, but it provides everything to the law firm except the lawyers.
That's right.
Okay. And that law firm pays the MSO. And then there's a formula for sharing profits other than in a way that violates the rule. Sure. It's just done through these revenue models. And then there's enterprise value at the end that translates into a formula that gives the MSO or the PE firm the benefit of ownership without ownership. That's the biggest shift. Why does it matter? Because you've got a lot more liquidity in the exiting law firm market. There's a lot more buyers out there now. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other big shift, as you know, Josh, is it's AI.
Yes,
man. And it's really interesting because it's generational. I'm not being ageist here when I say this, but older lawyers are slower adopters of AI, which means that their firms are less efficient and less productive than the firms that are. So one of our jobs at Exit Path is to help them compensate for that lack of savviness. Okay. I know that sounds pejorative. I don't mean it that way. But you combine this firm. When a law firm buys another law firm, what they're really buying is relationships. Well, you got a small law firm with a ton of great relationships, but they're not being serviced efficiently because their lawyers aren't doing the AI thing. Well, here comes a law firm that does. And it is able to take a $5 million law firm and turn it into a $10 million law firm because it can do the work much better and profitably. So those are the biggest shifts. Figuring out what the marriage is between this low-tech firm and this high-tech firm is what a good intermediary does.
So one of the things I've been saying to follow that is that AI won't replace lawyers. It will replace law firms not leveraging AI.
100%. Yeah, totally right. Yeah.
So as we wrap it up today, Alex, what is one final nugget of wisdom that you can leave with aggressive growth-minded attorneys who want to build a firm that's not only successful today, but has value in years to come?
Okay. The first thing that we do with our clients at Exit Path is this exercise. It's a strategic coach concept. So They call it R factor DOS. R means relationship. DOS means dangers, opportunities, strengths. So here's the exercise. And this is a 90-minute first call that I have personally with every one of our clients. So question 1, R. If we were sitting across the table from each other the day after you retire, tell me what has to have happened for you to say, Alex, I am thrilled right now. I love how the last year has gone, the last 2 years have gone, 3 years, whatever. Because what that, and then I just let them go. I just let them talk. But what I would say to your listeners is paint that picture. It's the day after retirement. What has to have happened between now and that day for you to be thrilled with the result? And the answer usually goes something like this. My clients are well taken care of. I am doing, I'm not completely exited because I still love certain aspects of the practice, like maybe rainmaking, strategic, discussions, things like that. I want to keep doing that, Alex. So I'm still doing that, just not 50 hours a week. I've got recurring revenue coming in. I've turned what was a 50-hour week to 5 hours here, and the rest I'm spending with my grandkids and golfing. So paint that picture: time, money, relationships, purpose. Then the next 3 questions are, okay, what are the dangers? What's getting in the way of that vision? Number 2, what are the opportunities? What opportunities to attain that vision are hanging out there that you can exploit? It's this referral relationship that I haven't loved on as much as I can. It's this particular employee who I really should elevate. It's something else. It's these 2 clients who make up 70% of our business who I'm just not giving them enough love. Something like that. Opportunities. And then S is superpowers or strengths, right? Everyone's got one. Some people have 2. What strengths do you currently have? They're the 1 or 2 things that you do better than everyone else you know and better than every other thing that you do. What can you leverage between now and retirement to really achieve that vision? So what I would share with your listeners is answer those 4 questions and what you've just built. Give yourself a good hour. Just get out a pen and paper and just paint that canvas, right? I promise you, Josh, that that is going to be a really valuable exercise, because what you've just done is painted that vision. And then if you just spent the next year eliminating your dangers, exploiting those opportunities, and leveraging those superpowers, you will attain that vision.
So good. It's almost as if they need a coach to take them through this, right, before they're even ready to engage you, right? So that might be an opportunity there within Exit Path, right? So that is such good stuff.
We do offer coaching at Exit Path.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Alex, now it's time to move on to my favorite part of the podcast. This is where people get to know, like, and trust you better. I call it the lightning round. We all like to do business with people we know, like, and trust. I'm just going to ask you a question, whatever pops in your mind. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay?
Let's go.
So, Alex, what never fails to make you laugh?
My kids.
I love it. Great answer. If your closest friends were to describe you in one sentence, what would they say?
Alex is a frenetic, way too much energy than he knows what to do with problem solver.
Oh, love it. Have not heard anybody use that term frenetic in years. So is there a person that you would trade places with for a day? Anyone throughout history?
This is going to sound really silly or stupid, and both are true. I would trade places with Donald Trump for a day.
Wow.
But I would say that about whoever's in that seat, whoever's in the White House. You want to make impact. That's how you make impact, right? And I love impact.
Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Wine. I've had to limit myself to 1 glass a day. I just joined this wine club. I got this rack right here I love wine, and I now will only allow myself 1 glass a day because I love it that much.
Red, white, doesn't
You
matter.
know what? It's been red for most of my life, and I'm just now experimenting with whites.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you? What about you? What do you like to drink?
So I stopped drinking about 6 years ago, and it's been 5.5 years now. So not that I had a drinking problem. I just decided that it didn't move my cheese anymore. So, and I'll tell you, I'm pretty happy, but I did love my wine. And I had, going way back years and years ago, I had a friend who was a restaurant promoter and wine merchant.
Yeah.
And this is when I still lived in Philadelphia. So he would have these events at higher end restaurants. And this is when I was younger and first started making money. So I would go to these events, buy wine, and thought I was like a big shot, smoke a cigar, right?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about wine, and I love it, but I'm done drinking. I will not
Right
drink
on.
again.
Good,
Yeah.
good for you. Honestly, I probably should have a long time ago too. Josh,
Well,
wait,
no,
can I ask you? Can I throw a curveball at you?
Sure.
Has anyone asked you these questions
No.
on your podcast? All right. Can we go back to the first one and then go back and forth? I go, you go, and
Oh, of course.
all right. So
Yeah.
here, I already answered my first one. So what never fails to make you laugh?
I have a friend who owns a pressure wash company. He's just a blue collar, as ex-Marine, blue collar as blue collar can get. I have a very perverse sense of humor, right? And so him and I just go on these rants together, and we could do a comedy show. It is hilarious. So
Awesome.
yeah, so Dino never fails to make me laugh.
Awesome.
And those of anybody that's been together with Dean and I will concur 100%. So
I love it. Okay. What was the second question?
so if your closest friends describe you in one
Yes.
sentence, what would they say?
All right. What is it?
They would say that Josh is an incredibly hardworking, honest person with a big heart, and a heart goes right into the empathy statement. I mean, I just have I have a gift of empathy. And the reason I have a gift of empathy is, first of all, I was raised by my mother. She raised 4 kids by herself. She was a school teacher, but a special kind of school teacher, meaning she worked with adjudicated delinquents. So learned that. Additionally, I come from a family of psychotherapists in the mental health profession, which is a gift and a blessing, a blessing and a curse, I should say, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I have a great deal of empathy. So, is there a person that I would trade places with for a day? I would like to see what it's like to be in the side of the mind of Elon Musk, because to me, he is probably will go down as the greatest entrepreneur in history until someone else comes along. He's the only entrepreneur to ever start 3 companies worth over $1 billion, right?
You cannot find a bigger thinker anywhere.
Yes,
Totally. Okay. What was did we get to number 4?
So the fourth one is guilty pleasure. So my guilty pleasure, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 things, and I'm really, 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 really trying hard to cut it out. I love pizza.
Wait, deep dish or thin crust or deep dish?
Thin crust.
Okay.
Yeah, I like both, but thin crust. So like when I go to Whole Foods Market and I somehow end up going through that section, I always grab a slice. It's so bad. So, and I also have a sweet tooth for certain baked goods. So it'll be either a chocolate chip cookie or a brownie, and I just have to stay away from it because I start.
If I had to give my answer again, that would be a very close second to wine. Yeah. Man. I need to stay out of that aisle at the grocery store, actually.
Yeah. What is the best gift that you have ever given someone?
Time.
Wow.
Hands down. And honestly, I'm so fortunate to have found this path, I own a law firm, but I don't work there. And while I was working there, and practicing law, I was solving people's problems, and that gave them some amount of time. But now with Exit Path, time and freedom that we can give to people is so gratifying and is truly the greatest gift I think that anyone can give anybody.
So good.
Okay, you go.
So, kind of similar. So, I coach these other agencies as part of 7-figure agency. and I'm the sales coach. Nothing brings me greater joy today than when someone comes to me and says, Josh, I did what you said. I closed my last 6 deals. Or people who have, I mean, I've got a couple stories where really, really struggling, started an agency, wife, 2 kids, Miami, $5,000 a month in revenue. Imagine living in Miami on $5,000 a month with wife and 2 kids, and really struggling. He is in the Medicare, like medical spa, Medi-spa space, right? So I met with him multiple times, and I've got 15, 20 stories like this, but multiple times I restructured his pricing and his packaging. I just have a gift for that as well. So I restructured his package. Like, they're never going to pay me that. Yes, they will. No, nobody's ever going to pay me that amount of money. I said, yeah, well, we have to build value, and let me show you how we're going to build the value, right? And his wife was ready to leave him. And I saw him a few months later at one of our events, and he came up to me and he gave me a big hug. He said, Josh, I came home and from the bank, and I handed my wife a check for $20,000. And wow. It's like, thank you so much. Then I saw him. Then they do award ceremony. The next thing you know, he's on stage getting $1 million a year threshold, then $2 million a year, then $3 million a year, all because of obviously his hard work, but the foundation that I laid for him and the techniques that I taught him. So to me, nothing, I gave the guy freedom. Same thing, time, right? So I gave him a path to freedom. So nothing brings me greater joy. And I have other stories like that. So, so what is the one failure that you're now grateful for?
So, so many.
I was going to say the same thing. So many.
But the one that I can think of, the first one that comes to mind, and the one that is probably like in the top most emotionally traumatizing, is my last trial. Okay. And it was a big one, and I just got my ass kicked, man. I mean, we spent a year, close to 2 years probably, getting ready for this trial. It was a contingency fee case. It was a business litigation contingency fee case. Talk about confirmation bias. I was so in love with our position on this case. I was like, we can't possibly lose this. So I took it on contingency. Dumb, just so dumb. And it was such a just bloodbath. You know, the trial itself. I mean, the other guy had incredibly competent lawyers. And brought them to Cleveland from Detroit. It was a grudge match for a week in trial, and we got killed. We got killed, and I probably lost about $500,000 in like actual cost legal fees. The opportunity cost was in the millions, but that was the case that taught me that I never wanted to try cases again. And I was doing it. I was trying cases a lot. And being a trial lawyer is an all-consuming thing, right? I mean, the week or two before trial, you're not going home, or at least I wasn't. I mean, people do it better than me, but it was all-consuming. I was stressed out. I wasn't taking care of myself. Because I lost that case, and I was so traumatized by it, Josh, I thought like my name would be dragged through the mud. I thought that, nobody would want to do business with my law firm again. None of that happened, but it did teach me that I actually don't want to be a litigator. I want to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so that was the lesson the failure I'm most grateful for. What about you?
So many.
Where do I start?
Business failures, but I will tell you this, just to keep it short and sweet. So my marriage failing and being divorced is the best thing that ever happened to me, because I tried to save it. And in that process, I learned so much about relationships, and it forced me to a deeper level of introspection about myself that I never would have embarked on. And so I learned so much about myself as a man, and what it takes to make a bad relationship good and a good relationship great. And I'll just leave it at that, because I can go much, much deeper.
That's another one. I could have totally given that exact answer, actually.
Right. And I was going down the business path, and I thought, well, I got that failure, I got that failure, and I got that failure. But I am so happily divorced. So,
yeah. No, this is great. I feel like your listeners are getting a twofer here. Those are two very valuable lessons.
Yeah. So, all right. So what is the one thing that you wish you were better at dealing with?
Well, I mean, I still hate to lose. I still don't like it. I still beat myself up over it when I'm much better at it. It does not stay with, it doesn't have the staying power that it does, but I still freaking hate to lose. So there's still a long way I can go on there.
And you're in Cleveland, is that right? You're used to losing there.
Where we're going. Well played, Josh. Well played.
So for me, attrition is part of the agency world. So the industry average is about 3%. We're at about 2%, so we're much better than the industry average. I work so hard in preparing to acquire a new client, and our team works so hard, and we genuinely care so much and produce fantastic results. But every time, even I've been doing this 16 years, we lose a client, it's like a punch in the gut for me. Because I care so much, and it's difficult. Look, and no offense to you lawyers out there, but some lawyers are very, very, very difficult to please. I mean, I'm doubling revenue in 12 months, and that's just not good enough. Right? Right? It's just a punch in the gut every time. So, so what is one piece of advice that you would give your 12-year-old self?
I would say it gets way better. And it will keep getting better. Easy. Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking, it's over. She hates me. I got an F. My dad is disappointed, so.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, what about you?
So, I grew up in the Philadelphia area. It's an incredibly judgmental. You talking about fans that booed Mike Schmidt, booed Bernie Perrant, booed Dr. J. I mean, really, really, really difficult, right? So I would tell myself it doesn't matter what anybody else's opinion is. And, I had older brothers who were pounding on me every day, emotionally, physically, right? Which is great. That's fine. It helped me mold me into the man I am today, but it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say.
Yeah.
Right. I think, it might've been Kobe Bryant. It might've been Kobe Bryant that said it. Why would I care about someone else's opinion of me? Right. Mm-hmm. So something like that. So, awesome. What is the one book that changed your life?
The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It is what got me to get a coach. That by itself earned that book, high praise for me. And it's the book that I've gifted the most as well. But everything in that book, Jack Canfield wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. But that book, I read it 20 years ago and it changed my life.
I have it in my bedroom bookshelf. Yeah. Just reread it last year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's great. What's yours?
For me, there's so many. I'm just going to throw out How to Win Friends and Influence People. That old classic, because it is so important it's so foundational for both business and in life, right?
Yeah.
So
timeless.
What do you want people to remember about you?
Well, I hope that they remember me as a go-giver. I hope that they remember me as someone who made positive impact during his tiny fraction of a second on this planet. I hope that they think that I was kind and giving. Yeah. How about you?
So good. Very similar. I want to add that I want to be remembered as having positive impact, but being compassionate, empathetic, and passionate. Someone recently said that to me. Oh, you're so passionate. And I think it was last week when I was speaking publicly, because I'm in the audience, I'm touching people, giving them a mic, and I'm passionate about what I do. And to me, that's such a great compliment, because it's a short walk, right? So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So Alex, this has been tremendous. As we come to a conclusion of the podcast, can you please tell the listeners the best way they can purchase your book, The Lawsuit Free Company?
Amazon, because I know they need more help. But that's the easiest way to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
I will tell you, if you email me, my initials, ag@gertsburglaw.com, or even better, alex@exitpathpartners.com. The first 20 of you to request that book, I'm just going to send it to you. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And listeners, take advantage of that. So kind of dovetails right into the last question. Can you tell our listeners the best way to connect with you and learn more about Exit Path Partners?
Yeah. So either of those emails, but just go to exitpathpartners.com. And, I come to every conversation with anyone who wants to either buy a law firm or sell a law firm or exit from one or grow their revenue or do recruiting. We do recruiting there with a help first mindset, right? So give us a call, and we're going to only have one objective on that call, and that's to help you. Okay. Whether you do business with us or not, that is the singular goal of every interaction we have. So let us help you accomplish your goals.
Amazing. Well, Alex, this has been just fantastic to get to know you better.
Thank you.
Excited about what you're doing to help the legal community and these attorneys. Remember, all of you attorneys out there, there's 3 ways to grow your business. You can grow it organically, you can grow it through acquisition, or you can do both. And that's what makes this relationship super, super important for everybody and very, very special. So that's a wrap for today. So signing off at the AGM Attorney Podcast. Until next time, Josh Konigsberg. God bless everybody.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the AGM Attorney Podcast. Now it's time to put these strategies into action and accelerate your growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time.